If you're over 60, there's one private habit that could be quietly damaging your health, and almost no one is talking about it. Masturbation, something most men consider safe and natural, can actually turn harmful as you age. Not because of the act itself, but because of how your aging body reacts to it. What felt perfectly fine in your 30s or 40s might now be slowly harming your prostate, weakening your erections and draining your energy, often without you even noticing. I am Dr. Girag, a urologist and men's health expert with more than 20 years of experience treating aging male patients. I've dedicated decades to helping men protect their vitality, overcome sexual dysfunction, and maintain a high quality of life well into their later years. And I've seen firsthand what happens when these hidden habits go unaddressed. Most men assume that if it feels good, it must be harmless. But here's the reality. It's not masturbation itself that's risky. It's how you do it. Certain techniques, how often you do it, and what triggers the urge can all cause long-term damage that often won't show symptoms until it's too late. In this video, I'll break down the 4 most dangerous masturbation mistakes men over 60 make and how to avoid them. The 4th one, it's something even your doctor probably hasn't warned you about. Before we dive in, if you're serious about protecting your health and staying strong well past 60, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss crucial advice made specifically for men like you. And if this message resonates with you, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. And tell me how I can better support your journey to better health. Let's begin with the first and most common mistake. One that many older men make without even realizing it. Forcing an erection or rushing to climax even when their body is signaling that it needs a different approach. Mistake 1. Ignoring erection quality and forcing release. I've seen this scenario more times than I can count. An older man sits across from me, frustrated, confused, even embarrassed. He says, "Doctor, it used to work fine. Now I have to push harder. I force it just to feel something." What he doesn't realize is that he's describing the first silent mistake that could be damaging his sexual health. Sometimes in ways that can't be undone. Once you're in your 60s, your body undergoes subtle but important changes. Blood flow decreases. Nerve sensitivity shifts. Hormonal fluctuations slow down and complicate the entire sexual response. But many men fail to adapt. They try to masturbate the same way they did at 30 or 40, with a tight grip, fast motion, and a rushed drive to climax. When it doesn't feel the same, they push even harder, physically and emotionally. The truth? This can be deeply harmful. Forcing an orgasm when your body isn't ready can cause micro tears in penile tissue, irritate the urethra, and strain the pelvic floor muscles. Even worse, it puts added stress on the prostate, which grows more fragile with age. I've had patients develop persistent groin discomfort, reduced sensitivity, and chronic inflammation without ever realizing that the way they were masturbating was the cause. It's not sudden or obvious. The damage builds slowly, quietly, over time. And the real danger lies in how invisible this process is. There's no bleeding, no bruising, just a gradual decline, less arousal, less sensation, less confidence. And in response, men push even harder, again and again, until eventually their bodies can no longer keep up. That's when deeper problems can start to appear. Issues like erectile dysfunction, prostate swelling, or even urinary troubles that disrupt your sleep and impact your independence. If any of this sounds familiar, here's something important to remember. It's not your fault, and you're certainly not alone. Most men were never taught that after 60, sexual activity needs to be approached with greater care, mindfulness, and an understanding of the body's changing rhythm. You're not doing it wrong, you just need to approach it differently. Instead of forcing your body to respond, learn to tune in and listen. Use slower, more deliberate movements. Focus on sensation, not just the end goal of release. Allow arousal to build naturally, without pressure or expectation. And above all, treat your body not like a machine that needs fixing, but as a valuable part of yourself to nurture and understand. Because when you stop pushing and start paying attention, everything can begin to shift in a healthier direction. And that brings us to the next mistake, one that not only affects your body, but also rewires your brain in ways that can sabotage genuine connection and lasting pleasure. Mistake 2. Relying on pornography as your only source of stimulation. I'll never forget the look on a patient's face when I asked about his habits. He was 67, well-educated, and struggling to understand why his desire for real intimacy had faded. He told me, "Doctor, I don't feel anything anymore unless I'm watching something online, and even then, it's not the same." That quiet admission, a mix of confusion and shame, is something I've heard from countless older men. It often points to one of the most overlooked yet damaging habits. After 60, using pornography as the sole source of sexual stimulation. At this stage in life, your brain doesn't process stimulation the same way it once did. Fast-paced, high-intensity content overstimulates the brain's reward centers, flooding them with dopamine in a way real-life intimacy simply can't match. Over time, your nervous system adapts. It becomes less sensitive. What once brought pleasure now feels dull. What used to excite you barely sparks a response. You may start chasing more extreme content, longer sessions, or more frequent use. And all the while, your brain's natural ability to enjoy touch, connection, and arousal starts to fade. This isn't about morality. It's about biology. The overuse of pornography later in life slowly erodes your sexual vitality. It rewires your reward system, making it harder to respond to a partner, harder to find fulfillment in physical touch, and harder to experience the closeness that true intimacy brings. You may start to feel more isolated, emotionally distant, even depressed, without fully understanding why. The deeper harm is as emotional as it is physical. I've had men break down in tears, telling me they no longer feel like themselves. They miss the days when desire came naturally, when a simple moment of closeness was enough, without needing a screen. The saddest part? Many never realize that this private habit can have such public consequences, affecting their relationships, confidence, and overall well-being. But here's the good news. It's not too late to make a change. Your brain remains incredibly adaptable, even after 60. With time and intention, you can retrain your mind to respond to real-world connection again. Start by cutting back on screen use. Try using memory, fantasy, or even reading to help reawaken your inner world. You'll be amazed at how much life returns when you stop numbing it. And as we go deeper, there's another mistake, just as quiet, but even more physically draining. In fact, it might be the reason some men wake up exhausted, lose interest in life, and can't figure out why their energy keeps fading. Mistake 3. Masturbating too often for your age and energy levels. He sat quietly for a moment, then finally asked, "Is it possible I'm doing it too often?" He was 71 in fairly good health, but always tired, irritable, and struggling to focus. His sleep had gotten worse. The motivation to do things he once loved, gardening, biking, even socializing, had faded. He thought it was just aging, but after digging deeper, we found the real cause. He was masturbating nearly every day, sometimes more than once, and thinking it was helping him relax. In reality, it was quietly draining him. Many men hold on to this idea throughout life, that ejaculation is always healthy, always a relief. And while that might have been mostly true in your 30s or 40s, your body, after 60, follows a different set of rules. Hormonal recovery slows. The nervous system takes longer to reset, and your energy, once easily restored, becomes a more limited resource. Frequent ejaculation, especially when done out of boredom, stress, or fatigue, doesn't calm your body. It depletes it, and the cost adds up quietly. You won't notice it after one time or even 5, but after weeks or months, you may start waking up groggy. Your drive fades, your mood dips, and you chalk it up to aging. In reality, your body is signaling that it needs to conserve, not expend. Masturbating too frequently when your system is already taxed can lead to dips in testosterone, disrupted sleep, and even strain on the prostate, which can cause urinary urgency and those frustrating nighttime awakenings. I'm not saying you should stop completely. In fact, some sexual expression is healthy at any age, but it needs to be in tune with your body's current rhythm. Where once you could bounce back in hours, now it might take days. The key is to listen, not push. For many men, reducing frequency to once or twice a week results in noticeable boosts in energy, focus, and emotional balance. Others explore forms of stimulation that don't always lead to ejaculation, giving them connection without draining the body. When you stop treating your body like a machine and start honoring it as a wise, responsive partner, everything changes. You regain strength, not by doing more, but by doing less with greater care. But while this mistake drains your energy, the next one targets something even more sensitive, your prostate. And what most men don't realize is that how you treat this small but vital gland during and after self-pleasure can affect your comfort, bladder control, and long-term health in ways you'd never expect. Mistake 4. Ignoring prostate health during self-pleasure. I'll never forget the patient who came to me with a subtle complaint. Nothing sharp or sudden, just a lingering sense of pressure after climax and a feeling that he wasn't fully relieved. He was 68, active, generally healthy, but uncomfortable in a way he couldn't quite explain. At first, he didn't connect it to his solo habits. "I've always done it this way," he said. And that's exactly what made this mistake so dangerous. It was silent, familiar, and it was slowly wearing down one of the most sensitive parts of his body, his prostate. After 60, your prostate becomes more vulnerable. It's a small gland, but its role in male health is massive. During masturbation, especially if done while sitting in a slouched position or applying pressure to the perineum, the prostate can easily become irritated or inflamed without you even realizing it. Add to that a common habit many men overlook, skipping post-ejaculation urination, and you've got the perfect setup for lingering inflammation, discomfort, or even chronic prostatitis. The danger here isn't just the occasional ache, it's the cumulative effect. Over time, this subtle strain can interfere with bladder control, causing urgency, weak flow, or those frustrating nighttime trips to the bathroom. You might notice a burning sensation during urination, heaviness in the pelvic area, or a constant feeling of tension that never fully goes away. And yet most men never think to connect these symptoms to how they're pleasuring themselves. They blame aging, diet, or assume it's just part of getting older. But it's not. You have more control than you realize. Small changes, like urinating after climax to flush the urethra, adjusting your position to minimize pressure, and being mindful of how often and how forcefully you stimulate can make a huge difference. Caring for your prostate isn't just about preventing disease, it's about protecting your comfort, confidence, and control in daily life. I've seen men in their 70s regain a sense of peace and ease in their bodies simply by learning to treat their prostate with more care. It doesn't require medication or drastic changes, just awareness and a willingness to adapt. And now that you understand how these 4 hidden habits can quietly erode your health, it's time to bring it all together. Because knowing the mistakes is one thing, but learning how to rebuild strength, sensitivity, and satisfaction after 60, that's where true transformation begins. Conclusion. If you've made it this far, I want to speak to you directly. From one man to another. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're not alone. The changes you may be noticing in your body, slower responses, lower energy, lingering discomfort, these aren't signs of weakness. They're signals. Your body is talking to you, and for too long, we've been taught to ignore those signals, to just keep doing things the way we always have. But after 60, those old routines can quietly start working against you. You've now seen the 4 most common mistakes older men make when it comes to self-pleasure. The first, forcing release without a strong erection, may seem like a harmless workaround, but in reality, it's a repeated insult to tissue that needs more gentleness and care. The second, relying on pornography as your only source of arousal, silently rewires your brain, dulls real-life intimacy, and robs you of your deeper capacity for connection. The third, masturbating too often without respecting your body's energy limits, drains your system in ways that can leave you feeling weak, foggy, or emotionally flat. And the fourth, neglecting your prostate's health during and after self-pleasure, invites slow, hidden inflammation that chips away at your urinary comfort and long-term vitality. These aren't dramatic headline-making mistakes. They don't show up with sudden pain or urgent warning signs. They creep in subtly, quietly, until one day you wake up and wonder, where did my strength go? Where did my desire go? Where did I go? And I say this not with judgment, but with deep compassion. I've had these conversations with hundreds of men who felt confused, ashamed, or simply tired of not feeling like themselves anymore. Some of them have broken down in tears, admitting that they feel numb, disconnected, just less alive. And these aren't just any men. These are men who built careers, raised families, served their communities. And yet, no one ever told them that the way they take care of themselves behind closed doors could have such a lasting impact on how they feel out in the world. So let me be the one to tell you, your sexual health still matters. Your energy matters. Your comfort matters. Your ability to feel pleasure and connection still matters. But it now requires a new kind of attention. Not the push harder, force it to work approach, but the kind that listens. The gentle, curious, respectful kind. You may need to relearn how to touch yourself in ways that restore and nourish you instead of depleting you. You may need to experiment with slowing down, letting arousal build naturally, and allowing your body to set the pace. You might find that cutting back, not out of guilt or shame, but as a gift to your nervous system, can make a powerful difference. You might even discover that real pleasure isn't always about climax, but about presence, patience, and a deeper connection with yourself. This is about more than avoiding mistakes. It's about opening a new chapter of life, one defined not by decline, but by wisdom. You've lived through decades of pressure, performance, and pushing forward. Now your body is offering you something different, an invitation to go deeper, not harder, to understand yourself more fully. To redefine masculinity, not as strength without softness, but as strength with sensitivity. And here's the best part, change is possible at any age. I've seen men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s reconnect with themselves, feeling more alive, more aware, and more in tune with their bodies than they ever did in their younger years. All it takes is a willingness to notice, to adapt, and to let go of habits that no longer serve you. If you've seen yourself in any of these 4 mistakes, take a moment, not to judge yourself, but to thank your body for speaking up. Then commit gently but firmly to making a change. You don't have to overhaul everything overnight. Start small. Maybe it's giving yourself more time. Maybe it's adjusting your posture. Maybe it's putting away the screen. Or maybe it's simply asking, what does my body need today? Instead of, how fast can I finish? Because this isn't just about sex. It's about your quality of life. It's about reclaiming parts of yourself that may have felt lost or silent. It's about building a new relationship with your body, one rooted in wisdom, care, and self-respect. So as we close this conversation, I want you to leave with more than just information. I want you to leave with a new mindset. You are still a sexual being. You are still capable of pleasure. You are still allowed to explore, enjoy, and evolve. But now, you do it with intention, with clarity, with a kind of power that comes not from force, but from understanding. The 4 mistakes we've covered today do not have to define you. They can become turning points, moments of awareness that lead you toward better health, better connection, and a deeper sense of self. Don't wait for a crisis to make a change. Start today with small, conscious steps. Your future self will thank you. And if this message resonated with you, I hope you'll stick around, because in the next guide, we'll explore specific strategies to help you boost your erections, support your prostate, and reignite your energy after 60 without pills, without gimmicks, and without shame. You won't want to miss it. If this message spoke to you or helped you see things in a new light, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with a friend who might need it. Help more men take charge of their health after 60. Every share could be the start of someone else's transformation.